Hey guys, Dov here with Game 3 between myself and Nale. Our series has been very good so far with two close games. Now this third game is the ace match in the best of three series, and if I want to win, might as well go with a faction I think is overpowered. So here we are with the vampire counts, gone with my patented Foot Kemmler build, so Kemmler here is purely for distraction's sake. And to summon Krell, he's also got his AoE healing sword, and the idea is we're going to be stacking that AoE healing. Got a Corpse Cart, Unholy Lodestone, the Clawed Gash Mortis Engine, zombies, two Blood Knights, two Black Knights, White King on foot, and there's a Necromancer around here somewhere on a Corpse Cart. Oh yeah, over here. He's also got the Curse of Undeath, so we've got all the healing effects possible. He's also got the spells, Invocation of Nehek, and Raise Dead, so quite a few high-value targets kind of spread around the battlefield, and we'll see how it does. Galinali decided to counter with Warriors of Chaos, which is an interesting one. It's a matchup that is generally perceived to be pretty tough, but I think there are some Chaos builds that can give Vampire Counts a hard time. In particular, like, it sounds weird to say out loud, but like kite builds with the Warriors of Chaos, especially Archaon, I was worried about. The Dragon's arguably a little bit better in some situations, but he does have the Chaos Lord on the Dragon, a Shadow Sorcerer separately here, and a Exalted Hero, which is currently diving to try and take out my Necromancer here, but because Crumbling is a balanced mechanic, I can just summon some zombies, heal myself up, and we'll be just fine there. The Blood Knights are in a position to come and push the Exalted Hero away. As for the infantry force for the Warriors of Chaos, we've got a Mirror Guard here, Chaos Marauders, Chosen, and a Chaos Chariot. So yeah, the idea that Hyala has here is he's going to try and probably kite me as much as he can, use the javelins and such to go after my knights especially. You know, the Blood Knights obviously will be a big target if he can pick off like the Clawed Nagash, the Mortis Engine. But yeah, that is the Mortis Engine. Either of these Corpse Carts, either the Necromancer or the Unholy Lodestone. Obviously, he's going to pick away at whatever targets he can. Now, for me, I probably should push up this hill and try and take out this infantry force as quick as I can. Honestly, with the Mortis Engine and the Grave Guard here, got the Sternsmen, all these infantry. I should be able to grind through this infantry blob. Maybe not quickly, but we'll definitely be able to beat them. My thinking here, though, is if I can catch some of these Chaos troops kind of out in the open here, isolated away from their infantry, they're going to be a lot less supported just from a resource perspective, right? So I also had the Dire Pack kind of Vanguard deployed hidden in the woods here. They're going to come out and start to pressure the horsemen away, kind of get them separated away from the Chaos infantry force. You can see how I'm sort of maneuvering my infantry line up to block in between here, so we can try and separate these Marauder Horsemen, maybe get some isolated engagements. The Chaos Lord comes down here, gets a pretty good engagement on some Black Knights in order to bail out the Sorcerer there, who then in turn was bailing out the Horsemen. The Horsemen can then come in, and a beautiful Penumbral Pendulum as well. Does a ton of damage to those Black Knights. The Blood Knights thankfully don't take as much. One of them did get hit pretty hard, but this is potentially a dangerous situation for me. The Black Knights are going to start crumbling here. We've also got, what is that, Melkos Mystifying Miasma on one of the units of Blood Knights. I mean, Yalinali is definitely going all in to try and take out my cavalry here, which is absolutely the right play. If he can take out my mobility, then Dragon, the Exalted Hero, these Chariots will be able to cycle charge my infantry force to death, so I need to be careful. You can see I'm kind of maneuvering my force downhill even a little bit. Kemmler and the Corpse Cart are coming over to try and get some healing. We popped the Invocation of Nehek, and yeah, the Black Knights, with the one unit that's crumbling, I'm just using them to pressure. I mean, since they're basically supposed to be routing, but they're actually not because they're just crumbling instead because they're undead, I'm using them to actually pressure away all these skirmishers to protect these other units which are not crumbling. Eventually all the flying units are able to disengage and get back up in the air, but Exalted Hero makes a pretty big mistake here. Tries to dive this Corpse Cart Necromancer. I mean, trying to take him out is not necessarily a mistake, but the Blood Knights are close enough. They're going to be able to get a quick surround, and a beautiful breath attack gets called in response, but likewise, I'm going to get Krell summoned here, and with this Exalted Hero surrounded, Krell is going to command the Blood Knights, apparently, to get it done, because I guess he won't get in contact. Oh, there we go. Nope, looks like Krell didn't even get a single attack, so kind of wasted the Krell summon there, to be honest. Now I'm on a little bit of a timetable. I'm going to choose to push forward now, rather, with Krell, and just try and take out the enemy infantry as much as I can. But yeah, still using these Blood Knights to try and pursue, make sure we shatter this Exalted Hero, get him from coming back if we can. The Black Knights also eating some healing. They're just kind of taking damage at this point. You saw the other unit that was crumbling, I was able to stabilize and just keep them fighting here. So that's really the powerful, thing about the crumbling mechanic, is because your units are still fighting at full strength, like even though their leadership is broken, you can still use them in tactical ways and then come back and recover their leadership with some support, and they'll be just fine. You can get them to their healing cap oftentimes. You can see the balance of power with the Exalted Hero going down, already turning in my favor somewhat. The Chariots are going to come start chewing on some zombies. That's totally fine with me. Honestly, just wasting their vigor. I mean, not completely wasting it. They do have to take out those zombies with something eventually, but for the time being, charging actually is, out of things you can do to drain your unit's vigor, like to drain their energy, make them tired, charging, I believe, if I remember correctly, is the thing that actually drains vigor the most. So you really have to kind of pick and choose, especially with units that are more charge-oriented, like Chariots. They can run out of steam pretty quickly in terms of their vigor. So yeah, you can see I'm kind of pulling back now. Blood Knights have taken quite a bit of damage, sort of overextending here, and Yalanal is able to do a lot of damage with his heroes, and these Marauder Horsemen continuing to keep up the pressure. They're just about out of ammo at this point, so the skirmish phase is pretty much done for anyway, and despite all the damage I've taken, I mean, the Blood Knights still have plenty of healing cap space left, so as long as I place very smart with them from this point on, I should be able to keep them alive, and especially with that Invocation of Nehek, getting models back, and Kemmler's sword as well also restores models. So once I get him into melee, get that heal effect going, then I can run in the Blood Knights near Kemmler, sort of create a few different pockets and charge them around to different points in the battle. At this point, I'm kind of just sacrificing this last unit of Black Knights just to keep these forces occupied. Like, yes, I'm going to lose them here, but that's kind of the idea, is just to keep the Sorcerer and the Marauder Horsemen from really being able to support this main engagement in a timely manner. And so here we go, Krell, and oh man, Krell's going to get in and get on some Chosen, which I guess is value at the end of the day. His summon's just about done, unfortunately. Doesn't get a lot of value here, but yeah, gets a few swings on Chosen. His White King buddy's going to continue on the fight here. The Corpse Cart, Unholy Lodestone getting in and doing some nice regeneration. I mean, the zombies, no question, get crumped there, but we can then move in with the Sternsmen. Now that these Chosen are a little bit more tired. Likewise, the Claude Nagash comes in, starts to do a bunch of draining. You can see the Air Force and the Skirmish Force finally comes around, but I've got some Skeleton Spearmen I can just kind of zone them out in the back line with. Some extra reserves that I'm just kind of keeping back here to keep these Marauder Horsemen, especially from getting too close in the center. But the Marauders won't hold up too long, obviously. The Kemmler can get in, get some good regeneration done, and these Blood Knights just punching through the center and then kind of wrapping up and around the flanks. These Chosen are about to have a really bad day, despite the fact they're great units, to be honest. I'm a big fan of Shielded Chosen in general. Getting crumped by all these resources. I mean, this 2 units of Blood Knights, the Mortis Engine, the White King. Sternsmen get a Penumbral Pendulum, but of course they've got multiple healing effects on them at once at this point. So if we just go ahead and take a look, there's actually 5 active healing effects. They're Innate Regeneration, or sorry, 4. Unholy Lodestone, Reliquary Binding, and the Chaos Tombblade. Of course, some extra melee attack and defense buffs as well from the Chaos Tombblade and the Mortis Engine. So that, again, that's kind of the idea with this build, is you just stack those different effects that make your troops either on par or better than enemy troops, and therefore you negate all of the problems of being undead, and you just win, to be honest. Like, it's, yeah. Blood Knights are pressuring these Marauder Horsemen off. Again, the Skeleton Spears just kind of being used in a protection situation here. This Necromancer has taken a ton of damage, but he's up to his healing cap as well, continuing to kind of summon zombies, saturate more numbers as they wear away. Make sure we can keep the chaff here to take those hits. And that's obviously something that's very important with the vampire counts, like playing very chaff-centric, and yeah, having your expensive units fighting like in combination with chaff, and this is just kind of true of a lot of factions, to be honest. You always want to play with support, but vampire counts especially just have so many really cost-effective chaff units. Like, zombies, to be honest, are one of the best units in the game, in my opinion, for multiplayer. Like, they're just so good. But yeah, you can see these Chaos Horsemen getting kind of cleaned up here by the Blood Knights. The Chaos Chariot making a stand, trying to charge in here. Likewise, the Chaos Lord comes in, probably going to get some pretty good damage on the Claw of Nagash here, but there's just too many high-value targets to take out. And when I say high value, like a lot of the quote-unquote high-value targets that you would want to take out, like Kembler himself, are, 1,000 points or less. Corpse Cart's only 500 points, the Unholy Lodestone. Like, the Claw of Nagash is very expensive, as are the 2 Blood Knights. But the White King's not very expensive. I mean, he's only 500 points, right? The Corpse Cart Necromancer, who I believe kicked the bucket. I think he got finished off by the Chaos Dragon. Yes, looks like it. He also costs only about 800 points in that loadout, so there's just a lot of things you have to take down, and everything heals each other, and it's all very nasty, to be honest. But again, in this tournament situation where I want to try and win based on the picks and bans that we had in the matchup already, I figured this would be a pretty safe bet for me to go for. Having been playing the vampire counts quite a bit recently to prove how overpowered they are, I'm pretty comfortable playing them against almost anyone at the moment. Like, pretty much any faction, to be honest, I would say I'm comfortable taking the vampire counts against that faction. Like, I really don't think they have too many bad matchups. Dwarfs are one that's pretty tough. I would say, in my mind, in my experience at least, that's been the toughest one for me. Just because the dwarfs' high leadership, their high defense, their magic resistance as well plays into that a bit. Have really strong range tools. Yeah, it's just kind of an interesting matchup. They're like the top ranged faction in the game compared to the faction with no ranged at all. So it's an interesting one. A lot of the innate advantages as well of being undead, like the army-wide fear, for example, isn't nearly as impactful against the dwarves, obviously, because of their high leadership. But see the Chaos Chariot getting rear charged by Blood Knights here. The chariots are going to actually explode there. And it's pretty much just the flying force left now. We've been able to clean up most of these other units. And credit to Galanala for keeping his Chaos Lord alive. Dragons are pretty tough to use, Chaos Dragons potentially, and the fact that I've been going after them very aggressively with my Blood Knights whenever I can. He goes directly after the Blood Knights here, which they're heal capped at this point, so he's going to do quite a bit of damage, but there's just not really a lot of army left at this point. I'm even rear charging with the Corpse Cart. You can see the Skeleton Spears running in here. The Mortis Engine can also be used to kind of mass block. Kembler and the White King both are in here as well. It's just a lot of stuff. And the Blood Knights do manage to hold on, even though I think one of them goes into crumbling there. Yeah. Totally balanced. Anyway. Well played to Galanala. Hopefully you guys enjoyed watching that one. It's an interesting matchup. The main thing I was worried about with Archaon is he'll just like slinging fireballs, like kiting while you're slinging fireballs, especially at the Claw of Nagash has some magic resistance, which is why you bring it here, but like the corpse carts can get picked off by successive fireballs. I mean, obviously having the breath attacks gives you a little bit of extra even missile pressure in that way. So maybe if it's arguable that a Fire Dragon might be even better than Archaon. But Archaon also has magic damage, and because he's such a tough fighter, also has AoE immune to psychology, which is great against, terror of the vampire counts. And he will just delete a lot of high-value targets, especially here, like, Kembler's item gives him physical resistance, which I did bring in this matchup. Archaon does magic damage, so he doesn't really care about that. Like, he'll just destroy Kembler's face. The White King as well, I mean, the Necromancer, none of them, even the Claw of Nagash, will just get absolutely crumped by Archaon. And, I mean, unless he gets fully caught out by these Blood Knights, like, I don't really have, like, a Terrorgeist or Spirit Leech or anything that's specifically threatening to Archaon. So, with this build, my biggest sort of fear, I guess you could say, is like an Archaon Kite build. I do think I'd have the tools to take it on, and again, just with so much passive healing, I think it would be tough for the Chaos player. But yeah, it's definitely a matchup I'm pretty comfortable in. It's generally been perceived to be in the Vampire Count's favor, although I don't think that's necessarily always true. I definitely think the Warriors of Chaos have a lot of tools in this matchup. And Galanala played it pretty well, honestly. That long kite phase kind of drawing me out into some engagements. I mean, we both kind of had some give and take there. Losing the Exalted Hero was definitely a tough one, though, for sure. But anyway, hopefully you guys enjoyed watching this one. If you do like this sort of content, be sure to like, subscribe, hit that bell notification button so Every time I upload a new video, you'll be notified. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you next time.